While the U.S. government is shut down right now, it's one thing to have the president leaving the country and flying to other countries, as Trump did today. It's another thing to have the U.S. government funding another country's government while we are not funding ours.
Friends, there's a lot of interesting news. Let's get straight to the point. The U.S. administration provided $20 billion to Argentina. Their finance minister took those dollars and put them in his account, buying bonds. He almost went bankrupt, but thanks to these human resources, he managed to get out of this abyss. So, ordinary people became poorer. Argentina takes its turn, lowers the price of soy products and sells these products to China. At that very moment, China realizes that this offer is profitable for it and begins to use their services. Accordingly, by ceasing to purchase these services in the USA is getting poorer by this method. Farmers who diligently work to earn their livelihood cannot now earn it at all. Their families are hungry and have no money. The current situation is extremely difficult because it truly seems to me that someone was indeed fooled here, and we will now very carefully figure out precisely who exactly was fooled and what this entire situation is all about. Welcome to the Mind Mirror. You and I will figure out why this is a problem and how to solve it.
MAGA is having a meltdown right now, and Donald Trump is the reason. Now, if you missed it, Donald Trump sent $20 billion to Argentina to help them through an economic difficulty and to try to limit Chinese influence on the country. And how did Argentina repay us? By immediately selling millions in soybeans to China, stealing U.S. soybean market. And MAGA is losing it because this is not what Donald Trump promised.
Okay, pause right there. Let's appreciate the irony for a second. MAGA voters and farmers, two groups that went all in on this administration, are now watching their entire economic strategy collapse in real time. And not because of some external enemy, because of their own leadership. Argentina gets $20 billion. U.S. farmers get, what? The privilege of watching Argentina steal their Chinese market share. Here's what actually happened. The administration needed to help their buddy Javier Milei, Argentina's chainsaw-wielding libertarian president who's currently tanking his own economy. So they packaged up $20 billion in taxpayer money, called it a loan, and shipped it south. Argentina immediately used that money to stabilize their currency, cut tariffs on soybeans, and undercut U.S. prices to China. China, who'd already ditched American soybeans because of the first-term tariff war, jumped at the deal. Now U.S. farmers have lost their biggest customer, not to free market competition, but because their own government literally funded their competitor. This isn't chess. It's not even checkers. This is someone flipping over the board and claiming victory, while their own pieces roll into the gutter. And the farmers? They're finally asking the right question. Why are we bailing out Argentina? But it's about 4 years too late.
He promised we would put America first. But think of this. MAGA, farmers, two voting blocks for Donald Trump are both losing in this situation. So the question has to be asked. How many more times will you believe Donald Trump? How many more times will you believe Republicans before you realize they're lying to you, except when they say they don't care about you, they just want your vote?
These Trump-supporting MAGA influencers are just so weird, and they're willing to lie to their followers just to make it seem like they're popular. Like Benny Johnson, for example, was at the Penn State Oregon game yesterday, and he said, "Mission accomplished. Freedom has taken over the student section at Penn State." What he's referencing is the Freedom t-shirt.
You know, I'm really upset about the price of food. Why are we bailing out Argentina? Why are they getting to sell all the soybeans? I don't understand. 40 billion? What was it? Our farmers need bailing out. What the heck is going on? I don't understand.
Our farmers need a bailout. Yeah, they do. And you know whose fault that is? The policies they voted for. Let's connect the dots here. The tariff wars started in 2018. China responded by stopping all U.S. soybean purchases. That's literally half the export market gone overnight. Farmers got a temporary bailout then, about $28 billion total, which convinced them to keep supporting the policies that destroyed their market in the first place. Fast forward to now, tariffs are even worse, and this time, there's no bailout coming. Instead, they're bailing out Argentina, a direct competitor. And here's the kicker. Those farmers are sitting there saying, "I don't understand." But you do understand. You just don't want to admit it. This is what happens when you prioritize ideology over economics. When you vote for someone because they tell it like it is, instead of someone who understands how global trade actually works. China didn't just stop buying on a whim. They built entire new supply chains with Brazil and Argentina. They signed long-term contracts. They're not coming back. So yeah, US farmers need a bailout. But what they actually need is to stop voting for people who treat the global economy like a reality TV show.
I don't get it. Do you get it? Man, I wish somebody could explain it to me. I don't get it. Our farmers need a bailout.
The U.S. is bailing out Argentina with a $20 billion loan of taxpayer dollars. $20 billion. While the government is shut down, we're bailing out Argentina. If Argentina defaults on their debts, if things go wrong at Argentina, do you know who stands to suffer? Wealthy hedge fund managers, good friends with Trump. And if this bailout goes poorly with taxpayer dollars, do you know who stands to suffer? The U.S. government. The U.S. government and the taxpayers stand to suffer. Who would you rather see suffer? A hedge fund billionaire who's already put money down there knowing that there's risk, or the American taxpayer?
Exactly. This is the question that should be plastered on every billboard in farm country. Who should suffer, the hedge fund billionaire who made a risky bet, or the American taxpayer? And apparently, the answer is the taxpayer. Every time. Let's talk about the Treasury Secretary for a second. Before his current position, he worked with George Soros. Yes, that George Soros, the guy MAGA loves to hate. His buddy is a billionaire who bought up massive amounts of Argentine debt when it was cheap, betting that someone would bail them out. And guess what? That someone is you. Your tax dollars are being used to make sure his investment pays off. This isn't capitalism. This is crony capitalism at its absolute worst. It's privatized profits and socialized losses, except the people taking the losses. American taxpayers and farmers are the exact same people who voted for this arrangement. Meanwhile, the hedge fund managers walk away with millions. The Treasury Secretary gets to help out his old buddy, and farmers get to watch their barns get foreclosed. This is why people are furious. Not because bailouts are inherently bad, sometimes they're necessary, but because this bailout doesn't help Americans. It helps billionaires with political connections and foreign governments while American workers suffer.
The Midwest farming industry is getting killed by Trump's tariff wars, right? Basically, farmers used to sell more than half of their soybeans to China. And as a retaliation of Trump's tariff wars, China hasn't been purchasing none of U.S. soybeans, right? So these MAGA farmers who are on the verge of going bankrupt is now begging Trump for a bailout, like, socialism, that kind of stuff. And what does Trump do? This man responds by giving a $20 billion bailout to the government of Argentina. Why? Because the Argentinian Trump, as dude calls himself, is facing a tough re-election. And, his policies is terrible, country is terrible, all of that, right? And, Mr. American First gives a $20 billion bailout to them, which allows them to then sell soybeans to China at a discounted price. So you helped out the Argentinian competitors, killed your leverage with China. Bro, somebody make this make sense.
Yeah, good luck making this make sense, because it doesn't. Let's summarize. U.S. farmers are going bankrupt because China stopped buying their soybeans due to tariffs. Argentina's economy is collapsing. The administration gives Argentina $20 billion. Argentina uses that money to sell soybeans to China at a discount. China buys from Argentina instead of the U.S., so American taxpayers paid $20 billion to help Argentina steal America's customers. That's not America first. That's not even America 10th. And here's the part that should make everyone's blood boil. This was entirely predictable. Economists warned about this exact scenario in 2018. Trade experts said tariffs would backfire. Agricultural analysts said China would find new suppliers. Everyone with a basic understanding of economics saw this coming, except apparently the people making the decisions. But sure, we're being told this is great business. If by great business you mean bankrupting entire industries, then yeah, mission accomplished. The cognitive dissonance here is staggering. You can't simultaneously believe in free markets and demand government bailouts. You can't hate socialism and then beg for socialist policies the second your business fails. Pick a lane. Or better yet, learn from this before the next election.
So we all just found out the minimum wage is supposed to be $66 an hour to keep up with the current cost of living. I'm a physical therapist with a doctorate in my field. I went to school for 8 years and paid back $80,000 in student loans. Since the beginning of this year, I've negotiated 2 big raises at my current job by forcing my current job to match the offer from 2 other job offers. These amounted to a total pay increase of 25%, which means I was underpaid by 25%. Thank you very much. And if you do the math, I now make $60 an hour. I make a whole lot of money compared to people who are poor, but it just hits different when you're supposedly killing it and you're still below minimum wage. I'd like to thank the boomers for giving us this reality and telling us for decades on end so many things that were never actually true. Oh, and also, you all are insufferable on the internet, complaining about our avocado toast and lattes. Avocado toast and lattes are because we just want to feel some happiness, because we realize this is all bullshit. Thank you for your attention to this matter.
I want you to remember this, that Trump is bailing out Argentina, and they are going to sell the same stuff that we would have sold to China.
Oh, so that is why Trump is giving a $20 billion bailout to Argentina. Now it makes sense. Okay, so you heard about this, right?
Now it makes sense. So it's not about helping Argentina's people. It's not about geopolitics. It's not even about friendship between leaders. It's about money. Specifically, making money for people who are already rich. This is the part where we need to zoom out and see the bigger picture. Every major policy decision has the same fingerprints: wealthy donors, insider connections, and policies that funnel taxpayer money into private pockets. Tax cuts that overwhelmingly benefit the rich? Check. Tariffs that hurt workers but help specific industries where donors have investments? Check. Bailouts that save billionaire hedge fund bets while regular people lose their farms? Check. This isn't governance, it's grift. And the tragedy is that the people getting hurt the worst, rural farmers, blue-collar workers, small business owners, are the same people who keep voting for this. They've been convinced that their real enemies are immigrants, liberals, and coastal elites, while the actual elites rob them blind. It's like watching someone get pickpocketed while they yell at someone else for standing too close. At some point you have to ask, how many times does this have to happen before people recognize the pattern? How many farms have to close? How many factories have to shut down? How many communities have to collapse before voters realize they're supporting the people causing the damage?
As our government prepares to shut down because Trump refuses to give healthcare coverage to Americans, he instead is giving $20 billion cash to the insane, failed regime of Javier Milei. Why? Corruption, of course. What the hell else could it be? So this is our Treasury Secretary Scott Bessent, the man getting filthy rich off the tariffs. But wait, why is he and his friend Robert Citron buying up Argentina's bonds lately? Yep, this is Robert Citron, Bessent's billionaire buddy. They're good friends, they've worked together a long time, and he has been investing heavily into Argentina ever since Milei took over. Which, as you can imagine, is not going very well for him. So this bailout will directly benefit Citron and presumably every member of Trump's administration who was given insider tips about this in advance. Oh, and look at this.
MAGA, if you have to get online and beg for a Nobel Peace Prize, then 9 times out of 10, you do not deserve that Peace Prize. There has been no peace in the United States. There has been no peace in the United States. You've attacked the farmers and their subsidies. You've attacked them, and you've given money to Argentina. You've deployed the military on your own citizens, even when there is no reason to be deploying the military, especially when we're talking about places like D.C., Chicago, who have seen significant drops in crime. You still deploy them there. Somebody point me to where the peace is in this country. Okay, so while we're sitting here joking and saying, yeah, man, Donald Trump, you should have a Nobel Peace Prize. There's no peace in the United States right now. There's no peace abroad. He blew up a Venezuelan vessel that was confirmed to not be carrying any drugs on it. What are we talking about here? I don't understand. We're talking about the guy who wants to turn the Gaza Strip into a whole bunch of hotels and ocean fronts and kick those people out of those specific areas. There's no peace here. There's no peace in this country. There's no peace abroad when it comes to the United States. We're talking about a guy who withdrew military aid from Ukraine. Let's stop it. Let's stop the bullshit. Let's stop the cap. Let's stop it.
There is no peace. There's no America first. There's no coherent strategy. There's just chaos, corruption, and consequences that regular people have to live with, while the architects of this disaster face zero accountability. Think about what we've covered so far. $20 billion to Argentina while American farmers collapse, military deployed on U.S. citizens in cities where crime is actually dropping, foreign aid cut from Ukraine, a Venezuelan vessel destroyed based on false intelligence, and in the middle of all this, people are genuinely pushing for a Nobel Peace Prize. For what? What peace has been created? Here's the reality. Competent governance is boring. It's spreadsheets and compromise and incremental progress. It doesn't make for good TV. It doesn't generate headlines, but it works. What we have instead is theatrical chaos designed to keep people angry, distracted, and divided, while the people in power do whatever benefits them personally. And yeah, some people thrive on that chaos. They love the drama, the trolling, the owning the libs. But chaos isn't a strategy. It's not a policy. And eventually everyone gets hurt by it, even the people who thought they were on the winning team. So when someone says stop the cap, listen. Because the cap is covering up a disaster, and the longer people pretend otherwise, the worse it gets for everyone.
As our farmers struggle with the impact of President Trump's trade war all across the world, don't forget that the Trump administration is very likely going to bail out Argentina. Why? Well, because he's buddies with the president of Argentina, Javier Milei. While the second largest economy in the world has stopped buying our soybeans, where do they also get their soybeans from? From Argentina. So the Trump administration is going to bail out Milei's administration, all while they enjoy selling their soybeans and our farmers are struggling and going out of business. This bailout is supposed to cost at least $20 billion. The deal hurts our farmers and American taxpayer dollars. What happened to America first? Because right now it seems that it's America second and Argentina first. Make that make sense.
Trump is using $20 billion, $20 billion of our dollars to bail out Argentina. It's done. It's a done deal because their economy isn't doing so great. So here, $20 billion. Take it. This does not benefit us at all. But there is a billionaire, undoubtedly a Trump donor, who will make a fortune off of this. He's a friend and former colleague of Scott Bessent. You see, that billionaire bought up a significant amount of Argentina's debt, as well as equity in companies that will benefit when the economy does better. Scott Bessent decided to use our money to make sure that happens for that guy. As Argentina's economy was crashing out, that billionaire was about to lose a fortune. God forbid. So Trump decided we needed to bail that guy out. It's not about Argentina.
There it is. The whole con in one sentence. They decided we needed to bail that guy out. Not bail out American farmers. Not invest in American infrastructure. Not help American families struggling with inflation. Bail out a billionaire who made a bad bet on Argentine bonds. And this is from people who ran on draining the swamp. This is the swamp. This is exactly what corruption looks like in modern America. Not cartoonish villains with bags of cash, but sophisticated financial schemes where public money flows to private interests through perfectly legal channels. The Treasury Secretary literally bragged about making 75% of his bonus at Soros from a currency bet that his billionaire friend convinced him to make. Now he's Treasury Secretary, his friend is balls deep in Argentine investments, and miraculously, $20 billion in taxpayer money shows up to save those investments. And you know what the worst part is? This is all public information. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's not hidden. They're just doing it openly because they know most people either won't notice or won't care. Meanwhile, they're cutting Meals on Wheels, a program that costs about $1 billion a year and literally keeps elderly Americans from starving. Cut. But $20 billion to save a hedge fund billionaire's investment. No problem. If that doesn't radicalize you at least a little bit, I don't know what will.
Listen to this. Bessent's personal and professional relationship with Citroën, Citroën, has spanned decades. In a May 14th appearance on the Goldman Sachs Exchange podcast, Citroën revealed how he delivered a financial windfall for Bessent. They were both working for investor George Soros, in 2013 when Citron convinced Besant and Soros to bet on the US dollar against the Japanese yen. Blah, blah, blah. And I kind of convinced George and Scott Besant at the time to go big in that. And you know, Scott says I'm responsible for 75% of his bonus at Soros. And they fucking cut Meals on Wheels. Almost forgot the soybean farmers. In 2024, it was a $25 billion export. Half of that coming from China, who is now not buying any because of Trump's tariffs. Guess where they're getting them from instead? Argentina.
Question of the day. Who is the one right-wing conservative commentator, could be a journalist, could be YouTuber, influencer, whatever, if they denounce their support for Trump, it would start a cascade of dissent from MAGA.
Soybean farmers in the United States are upset with Donald Trump after he bails out Argentina, which is one of its greatest soybean competitors. So it's the United States, Brazil, and then Argentina, who sell soybeans in such quantities to China. And then once Argentina got the bailout, Milei celebrated with having a rock concert, which, you know, stupid. His country is like pretty sucky at the moment. Like their people are suffering, but he wanted to celebrate. He wanted to celebrate, so I guess whatever. Immediately after, they sold their soybeans, Argentina did, to China, and they did not charge them tariffs. There is rumors that Trump will give the farmers a $10 billion bailout, which is much smaller than Argentina's. And it is also, according to farmers, not enough, because that is not the point. But what do you guys think? Until next time.
Okay, let's put this all together, because the layers of dysfunction here are staggering. U.S. farmers lost their biggest customer, China, because of tariffs they supported. Argentina got a $20 billion bailout they didn't earn. China got cheap soybeans from Argentina instead of the U.S. Billionaire investors made bank on Argentine bonds using taxpayer money. U.S. taxpayers funded the whole disaster. And now there's rumors of a $10 billion bailout for U.S. farmers, half of what Argentina got, and according to farmers themselves, not nearly enough. Here's why it's not enough. Money doesn't fix structural problems. You can give farmers $10 billion today, but if China's still buying from Argentina and Brazil, if labor costs are up because immigrants have been deported, if equipment is expensive because of tariffs on steel and parts, the farms still fail, just slower. The real solution would require admitting the tariffs were a mistake, rebuilding trade relationships, addressing labor shortages, and creating long-term agricultural policy. But that would mean admitting failure, and this administration doesn't do that. So instead, farmers get a fraction of what they need. Argentina gets rewarded for undercutting them, and in 4 years we'll be right back here having the same conversation. The definition of insanity is doing the same thing over and over and expecting different results. By that measure, American agricultural policy is certifiably insane.
Tomorrow when the riots kick off all across the country and you're surprised to see people wearing MAGA gear, carrying American flags, don't be. Because that's exactly what they're planning.
Hey, hear me out. Let's go to this protest wearing MAGA shit. Nothing but MAGA shit. American flags, MAGA hats, MAGA shirts. Confuse the fuck out of everyone. If everyone showed up to these protests against the cops wearing MAGA shit, like nothing but MAGA shit, pull up in pickup trucks with MAGA flags, I'm talking the whole nine. Make it look like MAGA is there. Getting pissed.
It's not just some random dude on TikTok who decided to put a video out. This is everywhere, all over X. They're sharing links to be able to go out and buy MAGA gear. It's in their Discord servers. It's in their Reddit channels. They're talking about it all over the place. In fact, Congresswoman Anna Paulina Luna put a tweet out just today warning the American people of what you're going to see. They're planning to dress to look like you to convince the American people that MAGA are the ones who are out rioting and being violent. But the question that needs to be asked is, what exactly are they planning to do? Because if they think dressing up in MAGA to make MAGA look bad, it means they have to be willing to do something that they think is going to make MAGA look bad. So what is that something that they have planned?
China has significantly cut back on purchasing U.S. agriculture since the new tariffs went into effect. It's really important because China has not bought any U.S. grown soybeans, whereas before they used to buy 25%.
Because China's not buying them, and they are buying them from Brazil and Argentina.
So basically, Argentina's economy is in free fall, and Trump wants to help his chainsaw buddy Javier Milei. And the catch is that immediately after this announcement, Argentina cut its own tariff on soybeans, and China jumps all over it. They purchase enough to completely eliminate their need for U.S. soybeans. Understandably, U.S. farmers relied on that Chinese market, are very upset. Trump has also floated the idea of sending payments to struggling farmers, but that does not solve the underlying problem, losing the entire Chinese market.
And you recall, this is what he did in his first administration. The tariffs caused the same exact problems, and the farmers experienced the same exact problems, and yet they voted for him again overwhelmingly, knowing that this policy could take place.
South Carolina representative and MAGA cult member Nancy Mace, pictured behind me, just came out and said that one of the things she really enjoys the most is to go on YouTube and watch poor immigrants stripped away from their jobs and their homes. Her favorite things to do. And oh, by the way, South Carolina, guess what? She wants to be your next governor. Yeah. So now you have Lindsey Graham, a guy who's lied his entire career, the most two-faced guy in Congress. And you'll have Nancy Mace, someone who loves to see people ripped away from their children. Here's my question to anyone watching this video. Is this who we are now? Is this what America has become? People like Nancy Mace are actually running our country. The whole world is watching as we strip these poor immigrants away from their families and deport them sometimes to countries they've never even been to, or we stick them in concentration camps where they put the lights on 24 hours a day, which is basically a form of torture. Now, Nancy Mace says this is okay because, see, these people are all criminals, which is why, of course, they work in farms and in chicken plants, and they do, lawn mowing, and they work, putting people's roofs on. These great jobs that, of course, make them so rich. But they're all criminals, of course. America, all the time, on a regular basis, I get messages from people, and they say, as an author, why would you talk about politics? Why would you get on social media and talk about politics? You're an author, you're a speaker, you're a business person. Doesn't that cut your audience in half? Let's get very clear here. This is not about politics. This is for the soul of America, to save the soul of America. Look, I was in politics 25 years ago. George Bush appointed me to one of his charity committees. I served in the Bush administration, okay? I've always enjoyed politics. This is not politics. What people like Donald Trump and Nancy Mace and Lindsey Graham and all these MAGA extremists are doing to our country is literally ripping the soul from this country, ripping our values apart. This is not the America I grew up in. This is not the America probably you grew up in, but this is the existential threat of these evil people. I don't think you can say it any other way. This is just to enjoy seeing a poor immigrant ripped away from their family, and you actually say that publicly? To think that is evil. To say it publicly is so stupid, it's beyond comprehension. This is why we fight. This is why we fight. This is why we have to eliminate these people and take back the soul, the heart of our country.
And he's saying that all of these people are wearing freedom t-shirts. Now, in reality, if you actually watch the video, there's only 2 people in the video who are wearing the freedom t-shirts. Everybody else are wearing white jerseys or white t-shirts for the whiteout at Penn State. It's a tradition. If you know college football, you know about the whiteout at Penn State. And the MAGA influencers are trying to make it seem like the entire crowd was honoring Charlie Kirk. Even Megyn Kelly was like, incredible. Do these people not look anything up, or are they just lying? I can't tell. These are people wearing Penn State jerseys or just white tees for Penn State's whiteout. If you're a MAGA fan and you think I'm wrong, just look it up. Just research it. Basic reading will take you a long way, surprisingly.
And we're ending on this perfect encapsulation of the entire problem. MAGA influencers saw people wearing white at a Penn State game and decided it must be a show of support for Charlie Kirk's freedom shirts. Except it wasn't. It was Penn State's traditional whiteout game, something that's been happening for years, something anyone with Google could verify in 30 seconds. But they didn't check. They just saw what they wanted to see, declared victory, and spread it across social media, and thousands of people believed it without questioning it. This is the ecosystem we're dealing with, where verification doesn't matter, where reality is optional, where you can claim anything, and as long as it feels true to your audience, it becomes true. And that's why we're in this mess, not just with Argentina and soybeans, but with everything. Because when you operate in an environment where facts are negotiable and truth is whatever confirms your bias, you make catastrophically bad decisions. You vote for tariffs that destroy your own industry. You support bailouts that help foreign competitors. You celebrate policies that hurt you while enriching people who don't care about you. And when it all falls apart, you look around confused, asking, how did this happen? It happened because you stopped checking. You stopped questioning. You stopped thinking critically. And that's not a political problem. That's a human problem. And it's going to keep getting worse until people decide that truth matters more than tribalism. So here we are, $20 billion to Argentina, American farmers facing bankruptcy, billionaires cashing in on taxpayer-funded bailouts. The Argentina bailout isn't just bad economics. It's a symptom of a deeper problem. We've created a political culture where consequences don't matter as long as you're on the right team. Farmers voted for tariffs, lost their markets, and now want bailouts. Billionaires profit and face zero accountability. Politicians do this openly, and half the country cheers them on. So what do? We pay attention. We fact-check. We hold people accountable, starting with ourselves. Drop a comment below. Do you think farmers deserve another bailout? Or is this just the free market finally catching up? Hit that like button if you want more of this analysis. Share it with someone who still thinks tariffs are America first. And subscribe, because this story isn't over. This is Mind Mirror, reminding you, reality doesn't care about your